wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm good. I love your hair. You look beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so
Welcome.
much. How have you been?
I've been good. I've been good. It feels like a good start to the week. So I'm feeling good. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm happy I can be a part of your good start.
Thank you. Thank you. So I have to tell you, I've been binging Sisters because I'm like, I have to learn more. I have to see more about the show. And apparently I was late to the party because everyone I bring it up to is like, yeah, like, where have you been? It's great.
That's okay. That's
Yes.
okay. I'm the same way with other shows.
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
I really much enjoyed that. So, I mean, before we even start, for people who, aren't as familiar with you, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, yeah. I am from a very small town called Martin, Tennessee.
Mhm.
I moved to Washington, D.C. after college, lived there for about 2.5 years, worked on Capitol Hill, and decided that politics was not for me.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm a creative soul, so I ended up moving to Atlanta in 2009
Mhm.
to pursue a music and acting career,
Okay.
and took about. They say it takes 10 years to make an overnight success.
Mhm.
I'm a living witness.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
um,
yes. It's funny when you said when I read that you were on Capitol Hill, I was like, wow, that's amazing. When did you know that like your time there had ended and it was time to shift?
it was right around the 2 year mark. I
Okay.
stayed another 6 months, but right around the 2 year mark, that's when I knew that my time was up.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Now, working with Tyler Perry, I see, you were a production assistant, you were a stylist. Tell me about that process. I mean, obviously, it's hard to get in those doors. So, how did you get connected to him, and what was it like moving to Atlanta?
Yeah, a friend of mine at the time was working at the studio in the costume department,
Okay.
and I needed a job. And she was like, "Hey, we have a PA entry level position open. You can interview for it, and if you get it, then that'll be your foot in the door."
Okay.
So I did that. I interviewed, and I ended up getting the job.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that like being in that position, your attitude, your work ethic, do you feel like that helped propel you in different ways? Is there anything you think you did that made you, stand out in those roles to move up?
Absolutely. I pride myself on being a team player,
Mhm.
and working in a department like that. It's very fast paced the way Tyler shoots. We all have to have each other's back. So even as a PA, I was going above and beyond just what my role was on paper.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I think just being supportive of everyone on the team really helped to propel my career for sure.
Gotcha. Do you remember the first time you met Tyler Perry and what that was like?
I do.
Mhm.
He actually brought Soul Cycle to the studio, because I mean,
Okay.
I would see him at work every day and I would speak, but it wasn't until we started taking those classes that he would say, "Okay, I see you, good job today,"
Yeah.
and that's when we built a rapport. And then once I got on set and started costuming the main actors, which
Mhm.
we call first team,
Okay.
that's when he saw more of my personality,
Mhm.
and he was just like, "This girl's cool."
Gotcha. Sometimes when people work in certain positions, they're afraid to like speak up or, really let their voice be heard. Did you deal with any of that? Or were you like, look, you're going to see me?
Working behind the scenes, there's always a little bit of stay in the shadow.
Okay.
You never
Yeah.
want to do too much,
Right.
but I've always been myself. I speak to everyone.
Mhm.
Um, I'm always on it. So those type of things, when you're doing your job, people take notice to that. But
Right.
yeah, I always tried to make sure I stayed out of the way, but I was there when I was needed.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I worked in radio and I remember thinking, I want to learn more about interviewing and that kind of thing, but I was working in marketing. So it was weirdly hard for me to be so close to what I wanted to do, but be doing something else. Did you encounter that at all? Like, I'm close. Is it better to be here or not? How did you deal with
Man,
that?
I had to just, I had to come to grips with that was where I was in that season.
Okay.
I was in my student mode.
Mhm.
So instead of being like, man, that's where I'm supposed to be, I knew that was my end goal and that's what I wanted to do. But I
Mhm.
had to also remember that I need to take advantage of this moment and study the actors, study Tyler, study the assistant director, study the grips, the electric, like
Yeah.
know everything that's going on, so
Yeah.
that when I am in that position, I have a different type of respect for each job.
Okay.
A lot of actors haven't worked behind the scenes, so they don't understand what every department goes through to make everything happen so that we can just walk on and do our job.
Very true.
you know.
Very true.
So
Yeah.
I took time to really study
Mhm.
every amazing actor that came through that studio. I was
Okay.
watching them while we were on set. I was studying their beats and their timing and the
Mhm.
way they said certain things and different quirks and how they, I'm like, well, how do you remember all this so fast? I
Yeah.
would ask questions, and it really I feel like it helped once was my turn. I
Mhm.
was able to step into that with so much confidence
Yeah.
because I had done all the groundwork for
Gotcha.
years.
Gotcha. And were you auditioning through this whole process, like while you were a PA, while you were a stylist? Wow. So how did that conversation
Not
go?
when I was a stylist, yeah.
Okay.
So when I was a PA costumer, and once I became a costume designer and Tyler stylist, I stopped auditioning. But the
Okay.
funny thing is, I would literally be on set as a costumer. I
Mhm.
would get a call from my agent, say, "Hey, we have this audition for you." At lunchtime, I would run upstairs, change clothes to whatever fit that character for the audition, run downstairs, tape it, grab lunch, run back up, change
Ooh,
clothes, and
yeah.
go right back to work.
Yes.
And I even auditioned for like 2 roles at
Mhm.
TPS and never got them. And
Okay.
part of me thought, because I thought Tyler saw every single audition that went on,
Right.
but he doesn't. I mean, it's
Okay.
Tyler Perry. I don't know why I thought that.
I mean, I would think that too. Like, yeah, maybe he sees this. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but part of me, I thought that he didn't think I could act. I was like,
Mhm.
I'm auditioning, like maybe he's, and then when he offered me the job to style him, I was like, oh yeah, he really don't think I can act. Maybe he's saying, baby girl, just, I got something else for you.
Right.
So
Right.
I was like, okay, I'll take it. But once I started styling him, I did not audition for anything. I was focused. I mean, it's a full-time job, 24/7,
Okay.
styling
Okay.
Tyler Perry.
So how did that transition happen? Was that a conversation with him, or how did he learn that you were interested in acting also?
It was. I've been a part of the very beginning of the
Mhm.
creation of Sistas.
Mhm.
So as scripts were coming in, I'm a producer on the show, so I'm sharing my stories, my friends' stories, and letting him know these are the things that we're dealing with as
Right.
women trying
Mhm.
to date in Atlanta.
Right. Right.
Uh, girl,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
whole another story
Understand.
for another day.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. Yes.
um, so he was on the road
Mhm.
for the Medea farewell tour,
Okay.
and I was reading scripts, and it was literally, Kirby, it was like the words were jumping off the pages at me. I was like, oh my goodness, like this is it.
Right. Right.
This
Wow.
is it. This is my
Yeah.
life. These are my words. This is my stories.
Yes.
Like, just say it. So I had friends that were like, Chris, if you don't say something,
Yes. Yes.
I'm gonna whoop your butt. And
Right. Right.
shout out to Naeem Lynn, who's a part of the Plastic Cup Boys, Kevin
Mhm.
Hart's group. He
Yes.
was one of the people that was very like, hey, the Philly came out of him. He was like, I'm not playing with you, say something.
Mhm.
And other people that I just love to death that really pushed me to speak
Mhm.
up. And when I did, I remember Tyler was backstage,
Mhm.
um, full Medea, and I didn't realize they were on the road that day. I thought it was an
Mhm.
off day. And he's
Uh-huh.
like, I'm sitting backstage, answer the phone. And I was like, I'll call you back later. And he was like, no, what's up? I was like, I want to act. I was like, I don't know. He was
Mhm.
like, really? And I said, yeah. And he was like, okay, I'm gonna call you when I finish.
Uh-huh.
He immediately texted me and said, I love this idea.
Oh my
Like, he could see it.
goodness.
And
Yes.
he didn't say anything for a few days or like a
Mhm.
week. And then I get a text saying, send me some of your self tapes so I can see
Okay.
what I'm working with. And when
Okay.
he saw that, he said, I got something for you. And
Oh.
that's when Fatima was created. And it was a
Okay.
really small role. Um,
Mhm.
it wasn't big at all. I had to earn it. He was, I'm gonna give you something small because I see what I'm working with. He
Right.
said, "But it goes as far as you take it."
Right.
And
Right.
now we see where we took
Yeah,
it.
first of all, I love that story because it shows like the hard work, the time, the effort,
Mhm.
obviously the passion if you're doing all of those things in between.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even watching the show, I think it's been amazing to see because you know how the characters grow. And I think a lot of us know that person that's like, okay, I'm here for you, I'm supportive, I'm on your side. Even if I'm like not doing too much, know that I have, you know, there's someone there that
Yeah.
can that's working
Mhm.
with you the way you were there for Andy. So to see how it's progressed, how did you feel when you learned like, oh, this is changing? Because I see like, you know, you're on the marketing material now and everything, and the role has really like, you know, grown. So how did you feel when you learned about that?
Oh man, I was laying in my house on my couch when I got the call. Michelle Sneed, the president of our studio, love her. She
Mhm.
called and she said, I wanted to be the one to make this call. And I was like,
Oh,
what's up? And she goes, you're going to be a series regular.
Yeah.
And I was like, literally, it's crazy because you know how you manifest things. Like I was looking at houses that I couldn't even afford, girl.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
was literally in the moment. I was on my phone on Zillow, being like, I like that, I like that. And
Yeah.
he called and like said that, and I was like, oh my goodness, like I'm
Mhm.
closer to being able to do what I'm just looking at browsing.
Yeah.
And after that season, Tyler called me. He was like, "You're gonna be a sister next season," and I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh my goodness!" So we were supposed to do key art
Mhm.
at the end of season 2,
Okay.
but what happened was we didn't get to shoot. So
Okay.
so they used the same art that they had from season
Oh,
1.
right. For COVID. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
then season 3 we shot and we got to do it. So it was
Amazing.
amazing.
Amazing, amazing. I love that story. So tell me about being on set. Like, what's the culture like? I mean, it seems like from watching the show, you guys have such a great rapport. What's it like being on set?
Oh my goodness. You know what? I love my girls. Like,
Yeah.
and it's TPS is a big family. You know,
Mhm.
these are people that I literally grew up with.
Right, right.
Like from going to get coffee and running errands and
Mhm.
printing copies. Like I grew up in that building or in that company, and just to go every day to work when we are shooting and to see those same faces that support you, and
Yeah.
then to also have such a close camaraderie with my castmates,
Okay.
and just it's amazing. Like it's literally like you walking, you're like, is this really what I'm doing?
Right, right.
Literally living the dream that I dreamed as a 5-year-old girl.
Yes, yes, that's
So
amazing.
it's a blessing for sure.
That's amazing. And did anyone on the cast or even Tyler Perry give you any advice that really like stuck with you that you think has helped you throughout?
Absolutely. Two people. Tyler, I'll start with Tyler. Tyler called me while we were shooting season 2
Mhm.
and said, I want you to always remember what it was like being on the other side,
Mhm.
because and always stay humble, treat people
Mhm.
kind, because you know what it was like to be on the other side. Like
Right,
basically let me know, not just don't ever get too big headed that you don't remember what it was like to be putting someone else's shoes on.
right,
You
right. Yeah.
and that really resonated with me because I remember a
Mhm.
friend of mine who was also a PA at the time with me.
Okay.
We were getting people ready, and he looked at me one day and said, "I'm gonna be putting your shoes on one day." And
Oh, wow.
like, I'm like,
That
shut up,
full
Chris.
circle moment.
And no, it was really full circle because the first day of shooting season 1 for Fatima,
Uh-huh.
that same guy, I
Mhm.
had hired him to work because I was still costume designing season 1. And
Mhm.
that same guy had hired him, and he was the one waiting for me on set with my shoes.
Oh, I love that. I love
Girl, yeah. And he's like
that.
one of my closest friends to this day.
Right.
And I was like,
Okay.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Um, and another person that always gives me advice is DeVal, who plays
Okay.
Dak
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
show. And DeVal is one of the most kind,
Mhm.
giving. He's a fountain of he's a fountain
Mhm.
of wisdom.
Okay. Okay.
Of wisdom.
Yes.
He doesn't mind sharing it, and
Oh,
that's what I love about him. He's always like, Chris, you need to do this or get on this. Whether it doesn't have to just be with acting. It's
right.
from acting to how I handle my business to
Okay.
relationships, everything. He's like big bro. So
I
I
love
love him
that.
for everything that he always instills in me for sure.
Love that. Yeah, I remember when I was first starting it, and I was like, it's funny because his character is so messy, but I'm familiar with like his podcast.
Yes,
I was like,
yes,
this is completely not who he is in life. So it's cool to see the side of it,
yeah,
It's interesting.
totally night and day.
Yes, yes. So you talk about like, being in Atlanta, and I went to school here, I live here, so I know how that can be. Were there any
So
like, things
cool.
that happened in the script that you were like, this is really close to home. This is very relatable.
um, man, where do
Mhm.
I start?
I know, that's why I had to ask.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I have friends that
Mhm.
have been in Andy's position that fell in
Oh,
love with somebody who they didn't know were married.
yeah, yeah.
I have even, it's funny because even Zach and I, our relationship as Tyler was writing,
Yeah.
those things started to happen in my real life.
Wow, wow.
Yes, like people,
Okay.
art was literally imitating life. And I was like, this is crazy.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those shows I feel like people can sit down, talk with their girlfriends, like, remember when this happened? Or remember, doesn't it sound really close to home? So it's interesting
Yeah.
to hear
Even like talking to the same guy, because I
that.
have 3 girlfriends and the same guy has tried to talk to all 3 of us.
Oh my
So
goodness.
like with the whole Zach dating Karen before me not
Yeah.
knowing it and then dating him and then finding out we both dated the same guy, it was I was like, that's real life.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had something similar happen too. It's woo. So let me ask you, when you're not, working, I know you cook. What other things do you like to do to kind of like relax and maybe decompress a little bit?
Oh yeah, I love to travel. I actually just got back from Italy.
Oh
One
wow.
of my favorite places to visit. I could not wait because it had been a year since I'd gotten to go. Um,
Mhm.
I love to travel. I love playing tennis. I
Okay.
work out like crazy. I'm actually, once we finish this, I'm going to the gym. I was up this morning working out.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
turning into a little a workout buff, but
Love it.
spending time with my friends and family.
Mhm.
Like you said, cooking. I do Instagram videos called Cooking with Chris. I
Nice. Okay.
enjoy that,
Yeah.
and resting. Because a lot of times we work so hard, we forget to take time to just be
Mhm.
still.
Right, right. Now,
Um,
and also, you mentioned, before when you were being a stylist, you always seem like, from Instagram and everything, like you got your fashion together. Are there any like, tips you would give to women for the summer on just like the best ways to dress or just for your body type or anything like that?
yeah. You know what? I always believe that the way you dress is just an expression of yourself, how
Okay.
you're feeling. You can tell how I'm feeling by what I have on.
Right, right.
Whether it's like sweatpants and she just wants to be comfortable or she just didn't feel like it.
Yes, yeah.
More dressed up. Okay, she's feeling herself today.
Right, right.
Um, but I would tell right now, the men love the maxi dresses. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
Sunday
Yes.
dresses are definitely perfect for the summertime.
Mhm.
Um, and right now, it's a lot of the boho chic look is in. So
Okay.
the looser fitting, flowy, that type of style is definitely in right now, and that works for all body types.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get some fashion tips too. Okay, and then I guess finally, like I have to always ask this with every interview, like if you could give a piece of advice, and I really feel like a lot of people can gain some from this interview and like all the things that you've accomplished. You give a piece of advice to maybe an aspiring actor, even someone who just wants to be in the entertainment industry. What would you say?
Yeah, I would say that it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
You have to have a high level of tenacity to really make it
Mhm.
in this industry. I would say that whatever you're trying to do, the best thing I could have ever done was to get my foot in the door to, even if it wasn't acting at that moment, I
Mhm.
was around it. Make
Okay.
sure you're around whatever you're trying to do. And it just doesn't have to be acting. Whatever it is you're trying to do, try
Right.
to either get an internship or try to get a job entry level just so that you can learn more about it and
Okay.
work your way to that point.
Got
But
it.
I would say just stay the course,
Mhm.
and know that some people do get lucky and it happens overnight, but it doesn't last long. So
Right.
don't get discouraged by how long the journey takes.
Got it. Got it. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate I love your story truly. I think it's gonna inspire a lot of people and congrats on all your success. And I love
Thank
the show.
you. Thank you so much, Kirby.
No problem. No problem, Crystal. Have a great rest of your day. And I look forward to
You
writing
too,
about it.
love.
All right, take care.
Bye
Bye.
bye.